So Christie Sides just got fired by the Indiana Fever, but Christie Sides has responded. Leave it better than you found it.
Christie Sides, once hailed as a key figure in the team's future, has been fired. And the reason? Her unwavering support for Clark. Imagine the Indiana Fever's season slipping away, game by game, as the team's star, Caitlin Clark, is left powerless on the sidelines.
They didn't win enough games to get out of that #1 best odds, and they got Caitlin Clark.
The reason? A coach who simply couldn't keep up Christie Sides' failure to manage crucial timeouts.
She's not a very good coach.
Chaotic substitutions and strategies so flawed, they might as well have been sabotaging their own team. It wasn't just one bad game, it was an entire season of baffling calls that kept Clark, one of the most promising players, from unleashing her full potential.
I'm sure Christie Sides couldn't be happy, but there were a lot of reasons this needed to be done.
Fans hoped for a different story, a chance for Clark to lead the Fever to victory, but what they got was a disaster unfolding in slow motion. Now, as Sides is finally out, one thing is clear: this is more than just a coaching change. It's a major step forward for Caitlin Clark and the Fever's future.
Neglecting to realize that the reason the league is up as a whole, every single team's ratings, are because Caitlin Clark entered the league.
Christie Sides' exit from the Indiana Fever is no shock to anyone who followed the season.
I think at one point this year there was a 21-0 run, something ridiculous by an opposing team, and she failed to call a timeout.
Sides had one major responsibility: give Caitlin Clark, the team's rookie sensation and one of the most electrifying talents in basketball.
I think Caitlin Clark is doing the right thing, rising above all of the crap that she's had to endure.
The best chance to lead the Fever to success. But what fans got was the exact opposite, a season riddled with poor choices and missed opportunities that held back Clark's potential and left the Fever struggling.
Number one, feeling like they underachieved. Number two, nonsensical timeouts at all the wrong times. She would stop her own team's run.
With every game, it became more obvious that Sides' coaching was less about boosting her players and more about scrambling to keep up with the pace of the league.
Maybe she was so bad, she got Aaliyah Boston in her first season.
From bizarre substitution patterns to critical timeouts that went uncalled, fans watched as Sides' questionable decisions threw away moments that could have changed the game.
And it's exciting what's happening with the organization and where they are.
Take one of the season's worst moments, an opponent's 21-0 run while Clark sat on the bench. Sides didn't call a single timeout, didn't make any adjustments, and simply let the game unravel.
I did not think it was possible that one player could come in and basically quadruple the ratings.
Imagine being a player as skilled as Clark, seeing a golden chance slip away while sitting powerless on the bench. She wasn't just another player, she was the Fever's ticket to greatness, a young star with the power to turn the game around.
She lifted her team up, got them to the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year.
And instead of leveraging that, Sides kept her sideline. Fans grew frustrated seeing Clark's potential wasted in games where her presence could have meant victory.
Caitlin Clark was worried about playing the game, and that is why she got Rookie of the Year. She was not worried about the BS.
But even beyond the court, Sides' leadership style was causing damage.
It felt like they were winning in spite of her. Like they were having to play the opposing team and their own coach.
Reportedly, her approach was more fit for a junior high team, with rigid plays that failed to adapt to the strengths of her players or the strategies of their opponents. Sides wasn't just out of sync with her players, she was out of her depth in the WNBA. Rumors surfaced of strained relationships and frustration among the team.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league.
And fans began voicing what they'd felt all along. Clark was fighting an uphill battle against her own coach's decision.
The pressure 100% got to her because remember at the start of the year being like, oh, Caitlin has all these bad habits and let's throw players under the bus and, you know, we need more paint touches. And not even the pressure got to her. She's had no idea early in the year how to coach Caitlin.
The mounting tension finally broke when the Fever announced Sides' firing.
So Christie Sides just got fired by the Indiana Fever.
This wasn't just a personnel change. It was a statement that the Fever's future belonged to players like Clark, who deserved a coach willing to maximize their potential.
Caitlin Clark has created more buzz around the basketball landscape and has actually transformed and revived a league that was the WNBA.
Sides' departure is more than overdue. It's a much-needed reset for the team and a chance for Clark to finally shine.
Caitlin Clark should be getting so much more credit, but unfortunately, there are still haters who are trying to bring her down.
When news broke about Christie Sides' meltdown following her dismissal, it wasn't just a moment of high drama. It was a reflection of how deeply the season's failures ran.
Most organizations have their ups and downs, certainly. Excited, about the future of the Indiana Fever.
Instead of quietly moving on, Sides reportedly exploded, throwing accusations around and even claiming she'd left the team better than she found it.
But Christie Sides has responded. Leave it better than you found it.
But fans and insiders knew the truth. This was a coach out of her league, unable to navigate the WNBA's demanding environment.
Angry that a white girl has come in and dominated what could not be even approached.
And her attempt to control the story couldn't cover up the season of poor decisions and wasted potential.
Like, as much as there were opinions at the start of the year, a lot of negativity around Christie Sides because she clearly, the pressure got to her.
Sides' outburst wasn't just surprising, it underscored a season marred by chaos and missed opportunities for Caitlin Clark and the Fever. As fans watched Sides try to justify her position, it was hard to ignore how her choices had already impacted the team.
She's just completely out of her depth. She's not a very good coach. Her team have given up on her.
Clark, a player with undeniable skill and an instinct for high-stakes moments, had her breakout season repeatedly stalled by her own coach's decisions.
The ratings were phenomenal because of Caitlin Clark. She didn't want to take credit for all of those ratings, but we all realize that Caitlin Clark single-handedly is responsible for the WNBA mattering.
It wasn't just about benching Clark at critical times, but the way Sides held back a roster brimming with potential.
Somebody coming along and elevating the sport shine ultimately benefits you. Go out there, compete with her, try to bust her up if you want to, and all of that stuff. Just don't hate on the acclaim that she's getting.
From poorly timed substitutions to baffling strategic choices, Sides led a season where Clark's talent and the Fever's potential were sidelined time and again. And for the fans who had high hopes for the team, it was a painful sight to witness, game after game slipping away despite Clark's best efforts.
Who, by the way, I'm going to go there, who happens to be white and brought a level of attention and allure to the sport it had not received before.
What made Sides' meltdown even more frustrating was how it emphasized her disconnect from the reality of her coaching performance.
She's bad at a lot of aspects of coaching. She is unfortunately a bad offensive coach, a bad defensive coach, a bad rotations coach.
Instead of taking accountability, she blamed team morale, insinuating that internal issues were the reason for the Fever's struggles.
I don't think any of us were ready for what that was going to be like.
But the fans had already seen the impact of her decisions play out on the court. Missed timeouts during critical moments, defensive lapses, and substitutions that left top players off the court.
But they don't want it to grow if it's certain people at the face. And there is still this undertone of jealousy that for some reason I cannot get around calling it anything else but that because I don't know what else it could be.
When they were needed most. These weren't morale issues. They were coaching failures that forced Clark to watch as her talents went underutilized.
Two of the premier teams in the league drew an audience of 929,000, according to ESPN. The numbers were nowhere near what they were with Caitlin Clark. That is 50% less.
Sides' departure then wasn't just a decision by the Fever organization. It was a turning point.
Caitlin Clark's going to help it change for the better. All of a sudden, we going to see Asia Wilson. She may get some more shine because she's that girl. Diana Taurasi going to get more shine.
A chance to let Clark and the rest of the team thrive without limitations. For Clark, it meant an end to the frustrations of being held back by a coach who couldn't see her strengths or understand how to maximize them.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie, targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. She said, no, they're expecting this rookie class to be perfect. This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years.
And for the Fever, it marked the beginning of a new era, one that fans hope will finally allow Clark's star power to take center stage.
She is mad, Rose Golden-Wude is mad that Caitlin Clark has not gone out of her way during her rookie season when she's ultra focused on basketball to focus on race relations in the WNBA, to focus on racial tensions, which Caitlin Clark has nothing to do with.
Christie Sides' tenure with the Fever came to symbolize a season that should have celebrated Caitlin Clark's potential.
She said Caitlin Clark's wrong for not doing it, but I understand why she's doing it. It's just stupid. I'm telling you, I know this woman went to Stanford. How, I don't know.
But instead was marred by critical coaching missteps. One of the biggest issues, Sides' chaotic approach to game strategy.
Clark, by the way, has been the WNBA's Rookie of the Year. She will receive a special trophy, and she also has a bonus.
$5,000.
It is right at $5,150.
Did I really guess that right? I was trying to go inappropriately low on my guess, and I nailed it.
Which often left fans and players alike wondering what the game plan really was. Time and time again, Sides made choices that left even her own players struggling to adapt. Whether it was failing to call timeouts in crucial moments, like when an opposing team went on a 21-0 scoring run, or making erratic substitutions that sidelined key players when they were most needed. The disarray was evident on the court, and the losses piled up, all while Clark was forced to hold back, unable to take full control of the game as the team's leading talent.
Caitlin Clark is becoming the best player in the entire WNBA, not because she's white, because she's that good. She's having Larry Bird impact. She's been the driving force of the hottest team in the entire league, despite her record turnovers. Why? Because she's that good. She's legit good. She's colorblind good. She's guilt-free good. She's apolitically good.
For Clark, this season was meant to be a launchpad, a chance to break out as the WNBA's new face of rising talent. Instead, she found herself battling not just opponents, but also the limitations set by her own coach. Imagine being on the bench, watching your team's lead slip away with no call for a timeout, no regrouping, just silence from the sidelines.
The WNBA tried to capitalize on her popularity and crammed a lot of games in over a short amount of time, playing against the best teams in the WNBA.
There is a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
Sides' approach wasn't just ineffective, it directly impacted Clark's performance, leaving her with fewer opportunities to showcase the skills that made her a star in the first place. Fans watched in frustration as the Fever, with Clark leading the charge, missed golden chances to turn the season around, simply because of Sides' inability to adapt and strategize on the fly.
It was such a bittersweet end to a phenomenal rookie season that Caitlin Clark had. And it honestly got me to just reflecting on this season. And it sucks that so much of it was riddled with so much drama and so much negativity and so many mishaps that the WNBA had throughout the entire season.
What made the situation even more troubling was the clear disconnect between Sides' leadership style and the professional demands of the WNBA. While she struggled with in-game decision-making, Clark and her teammates were forced into reactive roles, often playing catch-up instead of leading with the confidence they were capable of. Sources close to the team have suggested that the players felt held back by a rigid coaching style that didn't evolve to meet the fast-paced, high-stakes nature of the league. It's as if Sides was still coaching a junior high team, failing to adjust to the complexities and pressure of professional basketball, which demanded agility and quick thinking, traits Caitlin Clark has in spades but could rarely put to use under Sides' watch.
I would almost joke. I'd be like, I would have loved to have shut up and dribble. In so many ways, I would have loved to have been valued as a basketball player. I would have been loved to have been spoken about just for my play. I think everybody in the league can say that. But nobody ever let us do that.
With Sides gone, fans and analysts alike are hopeful for what's to come. Clark, finally free from the constraints of a coach who couldn't keep pace with her abilities, is expected to rise to new heights and take the Fever with her. The end of Sides' era isn't just a shift in personnel, it's a turning point for a team ready to step into a new chapter, one where Clark's talents can drive the Fever forward, unimpeded by coaching limitations.
hey, look at the numbers everywhere else across women's basketball. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's all of us. And then the moment the ratings tank, they're going to come back and say, see, we were right all along. It's all the racists that follow Caitlin Clark that were watching the product, and now they're gone, and we're back with our diehards. It is bad news for the WNBA that she's not continuing to play.
This shift comes at a tough time for the WNBA, as the league grapples with rising criticism around its marketing efforts and lackluster ratings. Clark's move and success abroad cast a stark light on these issues, exposing just how much the WNBA may be missing out by failing to elevate players of her caliber. The league once leaned heavily on Clark's appeal to attract viewers, but her departure has left a noticeable gap, and the numbers don't lie. Viewership is dipping, and media interest has waned. This drop raises hard questions. How can the WNBA keep its stars engaged and retain the fans who come to watch them?
And the Indiana Fever president, Allison Barber, revealed this request made by Clark during the season. Listen.
After a few away games and all of the sellouts, Caitlin asked the WNBA if they would pay spot bonuses to the away team players. She said, we're making all this new revenue, and I would like the away team to benefit from that. Could they get a spot bonus? So that's the heart of Caitlin Clark. I mean, that's a classy, amazing person.
For the WNBA, Clark's European triumph is both a loss and a wake-up call. Her success overseas doesn't just highlight the league's current struggles, it underscores a potential trend of top players looking abroad to find the recognition they deserve. If Clark's career trajectory is any indication, this could very well be the start of an era where the brightest stars of women's basketball find their spotlight far from home, and as the WNBA watches from the sidelines, they're left wondering what might have been. Caitlin Clark's move to the European League has sent shockwaves through the world of women's basketball. Her choice reflects a stark reality for the WNBA. If it doesn't elevate its game, the league risks losing not just players, but the very fan base it hopes to build. Clark's success abroad is a reminder that players of her caliber will go where their talent is celebrated and their potential can soar. With each game she plays overseas, she's setting a new standard and showing what's possible when the right support is in place. The WNBA now stands at a crossroads. Will it rise to meet the challenge? Or will more stars follow in Clark's footsteps, leaving for greener pastures? Either way, Caitlin Clark has redefined what it means to be a trailblazer in the sport, and the WNBA is left wondering how it can keep up.